guys, welcome back to West Texas Bushcraft. I'm going to show you today how to make the alcohol stove, the beer bottle alcohol stove that I had showed you in the previous video where we compared this against the titanium Vargo stove. So it is the penny stove. So let's get started because this may take a while. Okay, so these are basically going to be the items that you need for this project. This project works out almost the same as the Coke can alcohol stoves, but I like to use the aluminum beer bottles because they're a little bit thicker material, so that holds up a little bit better in your pack and it doesn't weigh a whole lot more. So, two of these, or cans. You'll need a blade, and since I'm working with thicker stuff, I just happened to change out the blade on my plane, so you can see here I've attached it to this board. And you'll need a board or a stack of boards about as thick or as deep as you want your stove. And this one I want to make a little bit shallower than the other one because I don't put near as much alcohol in there as that thing would actually hold. So this is a 1x2, so that's about as thick as I want it to be, and it'll actually wind up being a little bit thicker because when we start putting this thing together you'll see why. And then here I have a 1/16 drill bit. I would actually recommend something much finer than this, but this is all my bits were wore out, and this was the smallest I could find on such short notice. So I'm gonna make my holes in this thing a little bit further apart to compensate for the larger size. You'll need some sort of marker or a pencil to mark where you want your holes. You're going to need a rubber mallet or some kind of poly mallet. You don't want to use metal because you'll wind up denting the thing up. And your option, you can use a driver or a screw gun or a drill, whatever you want to call the thing. Or if you have some way to turn this by hand, you'll be good to go. And then, of course, a penny to cover the hole. Attach some sort of blade to a board of the thickness that you want, and then you should be ready to get going here. So this one has a nice rough edge on it because I wore it out, and that ought to chew through this aluminum pretty well. So I'm going to kind of get started with this. What you do is you take the bottle and you press it up against the edge of this blade, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to score it. So I take it and very slowly, because you don't want to slip and cut yourself, I'm going to take it along the edge of this blade, and since I'm on a flat surface it's going to work out nicely. I'll get a good straight even cut. So I'm going to score this all the way around. I've basically got this cut almost all the way through. So what I'm going to do now is I find a good weak spot, and there's a good one here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a good weak spot, and I'm going to take my thumbs and press it in on the side that I'm going to toss, and it's just going to break loose right along that line. Now be careful while you're doing this stuff because it can cut you pretty easy. There we go. There's one bottom piece. So here's the other one, and it's scored pretty well all the way through right here. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to push with my thumbs. Well, I can't save that piece, but that's okay. And that one pretty well broke loose altogether. So now be mindful, you got some pretty good sharp edges on here. Now comes the part where I'm going to make my holes up here. I want to make them now before I put this together to keep it from collapsing. This side looks a lot cleaner, so I'm going to make this one my top. I'm going to mark my holes. So I'm going to start with my first hole, and I'm going to mark it here. And then I'm going to mark one directly on the opposite side. Right there. And then I'm going to cut that in half, make a mark, spin around, and I'm going to go halfway between here and here on this side. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Close counts. Now that's fairly square, so I'm going to take from this point to this point and half it. Okay, so I got all my holes drilled out right around here. I didn't quite follow my marks, so I more or less just used them as a guideline. Now I even went through and made a bigger hole in the middle, it makes for quicker alcohol fill that way, and that penny's going to cover it up anyway. And I believe I went on ahead and used a 1/8 bit to enlarge that hole. So now I'm actually going to put a bevel in here, so that way when I pour my alcohol in there, it'll all run in there and not really pull up in here. So how I'm going to do that is I got a little stubby Phillips screwdriver. I'm just going to sit it right down in that hole. I'm going to tap on it with my mallet lightly, and that gets me a pretty decent little bevel down inside there, and little channels too, so that's pretty cool. So a couple more taps for good measure. Now it looks like my material list is going to grow a little bit, so what I want to do here is I want to just kind of sand the edge just a little bit, just knock off some burrs, so that's good and smooth. I'm going to set that aside. Well, actually now I'm going to take the bottom piece and I'm going to prep it in a way so that it will fit up inside the top piece. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut little fins about so far down, not all the way, because if I go all the way it's going to blow my seal and all my alcohol is going to spill out the bottom. I'm going to take it just a little way so that way I can take those fins and I can bend them inward just a little bit, and then allow this top piece to slide over the top, and then I'm going to tap it into place. So I'm going to make a few marks. I'm going to do it basically the way that I did with the holes. Okay, so I'm cut halfway all the way around. You can see it gives me this little fan look. So now what I'm going to do is straighten these out just a bit. Any place that's curled, get it nice and straight. And now I'm going to take them and just push them in just a little bit. Not much. Just enough to change the shape of this by just a bit. Just a tad. There, that's bent. And this is where you have to be darn careful not to cut yourself. There we go. So now I got the top piece over here. And if you look closely, you can see the bottom of those fins. So now it's time to take the mallet and work this part down on top of this. Now I lay it flat and I tap lightly and work my way all the way around. You want a good even seat. Okay, so there we go. This is put together. You can see it's not too bad all the way around. Where every point where that fin was, you'll see a little small hole. This stuff is still soft enough and thin enough that you can probably push that in with your fingernail. I want the best seal that I can possibly get on this thing. So if you can't work that edge closed with your fingernail, you can just lay it down on a flat surface and then just lightly start tapping it around the edge with your mallet. So there you go. Now I got the finished product. It's about as thick as a snuff can. Not too big. It's not really all that heavy, but it is considerably heavier than the ones made out of the soda cans. But I don't care if that's in my pack. I really don't. So let's light this thing up, so that way we can set our seal on it, and then we'll go ahead and just time it and see how long it burns. With about 1.5 ounces of alcohol is what I plan on putting in here. So let's do it. Alrighty then. So I'm going to use this little pot that I melted wax in a while back for some tinder, and I'm going to put the stove in there because I think that would make it a fairly decent windbreak. All I really want to do is just get the thing good and hot. So I'm going to start with my Everclear. I'm going to fill it up. Well, not fill it up. I'm going to put about a little bit more than 1 ounce or so in there. Pour some down in there. So I want to prime this real good, especially for the first go, because I want to make sure I get flame up on the side to get it good and hot all the way around. So let's light this bad boy up. Some matches. We're lit. Good and hot. Now I forgot to put the penny in there before, so I'm already hot enough to cover the hole with the penny. Starting timer. Looks like I got a little bit boiling out of the bottom there. I got plenty coming out of the jets, but it looks like my seal's not made just yet, so hopefully they'll get hot enough to seal off. I don't really want to stick the camera down there for fear, just in case it bursts. Hopefully it should not, the way it's shooting flame up, but I've definitely got a gas leak around the bottom of that thing, so I'm probably going to wind up having to put some JB Weld on the bottom of that to seal it off. Luckily, these alcohol stoves don't get hot enough to burn over your, or to set your JB Weld afire or melt out your JB Weld. But yeah, that's definitely going to need to be sealed. That's why you want to test this before you go take it out into the field, because if it doesn't work, you're shooting flame straight on the ground and you could burn everything around you. So we're up to a minute and 25 seconds. 29, 30. We'll let this burn for a little while and see what our time looks like. 2 minutes, 15 seconds. We're burning well. Now we got a nice little flame established, and it looks like the bottom is finally sealed off, so I may not have to do any JB Weld on that after all. So, it's still going. We'll let her go until she burns out. Oh. And she's going to burn out. So, 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Not great. Not great. Yeah. So, my seal didn't quite work on the bottom. So, I had a feeling of that since it was thicker aluminum. That's why I sealed up the last one, and it burns pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and seal the bottom of that one up, and with a little bit of JB Weld, and we'll try it again tomorrow and see what kind of burn time we get. So until tomorrow, why don't you enjoy this nice little word about water. Since we're talking about fire, let's have a word about water. Stay tuned. It's been a long day of bushcrafting. You're hot, you're dehydrated, and there's not a drop of water left in your bottle, and your bowels are all bound up. What are you gonna do? Look, a watering hole, and it's multi-purpose. Wow, a little dysentery will help you loosen those bowels, plus you'll also get the refreshment that you need to keep going. Yes, refreshing water. No need to boil. Bottoms up. Now, 30 minutes later, no more loose bowels. Great multi-purpose water. Pick some up today at Any Nasty Stock Tank. Okay, so I was a total idiot yesterday. That was a complete fail. And I lost sleep about it, and I thought about it this morning, and I was sitting there looking over the old stove and the new stove this morning during coffee, and I figured out what the problem was. Well, I went on ahead and sealed it up like I told you. So if you look right there, you'll see I got a nice little bead of JB Weld sealing all that up. Look where the seal is on this one. See where that one is? Yeah, you see the problem? See, there's the top, there's the seals. The problem is you insert the top into the bottom so you have a cup. It just ran all over the place. Moron. Idiot. We're going to set this on fire. And we're going to time it. Let's see how long it burns now. Okay, so here we go. Got the stove. That's the new one. Stick it right down in my little pot like I did yesterday. I got my lid handy in case the thing goes haywire, so I can just snuff it out. Got my Everclear. And I'm going to put about as much as I did in there yesterday. It's going to be about an ounce. I'm going to wet it down inside there just a little bit for a prime. Get my penny ready, so that way I'll burn the crap out of myself trying to put it in there while this thing's on fire. Light them up. Poof. Beautiful. Got fire. I'll let that get good and warm. There we go. I see a flame coming out of the center here, so I'm going to go ahead and cover that with a penny. Okay, all the alcohol's burned off the bottom now, so starting the timer. There we go. So let's see how long it burns for now. So hopefully this thing will continue on for a little bit longer. It's a nice stable burn, which is the way it's supposed to be. There's nothing burning down inside underneath this thing like it was yesterday, so we're doing good there. So this will burn off a lot slower. Let's see here, almost 2 minutes. We'll do a check-in here shortly. We are at the point of burnout yesterday. Right about 2.5 minutes is about as long as it burnt yesterday, and so far we're still going pretty strong. So let's keep it going. 3.5 minutes, still going strong. It's hot. And of course, no, I'm not using a proper windscreen. I'm not boiling water with it. I'm strictly looking for burn time. That's all I'm looking for is burn time on this. Here we go, 7-minute mark rolling right now. We're burning great. Burning great still. 1 ounce of alcohol. Remember, this is also ideal conditions. I don't have a lot of wind out here right now, so this is just burning phenomenally well. Oh, it's going out. It's going out. There it went out. Time. 8 minutes, 18 seconds. Yeah, I think that right there probably ought to get something boiled up. And I sweat that one. I was almost certain I was going to have a total fail on my hands, but luckily sealing that up took care of the problem there. So that's a good thing. And instead of going back and making a whole new video and doing it right the first time, I decided to go ahead and keep it the way it was, just because I think that there is a good lesson to be learned out of this. If you're in a survival situation and you're trying to fashion some kind of instrument, let's just keep it that way general. If you're trying to fashion some kind of instrument and you make a mistake like that because you're not paying attention to what you're doing, that could get you in some serious big time trouble. Because if I would have taken this out just on sheer faith that I did it right the first time, I would have had a big problem on my hands. Big problem. I'd have had fire all over the place. You saw the alcohol stove safety video. That's what I would have had with this thing. So it was a good thing it was tested first. And luckily it's all sealed up, and you can see after an 8-minute and 18-second burn time that JB Weld is still good and intact, which I've burnt this one countless times. Also, I think this one had a longer burn time than this one because aluminum disperses heat real well, and I think just simply by the sheer volume of this one, the size of this one works as a greater heat sink to really disperse heat. So I think this one burns a little cooler than this one, and that's why this one was able to sustain a flame a little bit longer. Not positive, I'm not a physicist or anything like that, but that's my idea. So, hope you learned a lesson out of this one. When you build one of these, put the top in the bottom, not the bottom in the top, because that's just duh. I should have caught that, and I'm pretty sure I know you guys out there are smart, so I know somebody caught that before I got to the point where I redeemed myself on that. So, thinking about that one over coffee saved my butt. I'm glad that it works out as well as it does. So you guys go out there and make yourself some stoves. Do it right the first time instead of doing it like I did. So make sure when you test these, you test it in a controlled environment. Hope that was entertaining. Hope it was informative. I thank you guys for watching. And you guys go make yourself some stoves. Do it the right way. And go out and get dirty. And have fun and be safe. Catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.